to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will apologize to the gallery. We're going to do things a touch out of order today. Normally we do some of these things towards the end. However, I'm going to go ahead and move forward on this. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
How does council vote?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. At this time, we're going to request that we make a motion for an executive session.
Move that
Personnel.
we have an executive session for a personnel issue.
Second.
Is there any discussion? How does council vote?
Aye.
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 Council will adjourn for our, council will take a break for an executive. Council has returned from our executive session. Do I have a motion to appoint Sarah Osborne as city clerk?
I make a motion that we appoint Sarah Osborne as the new city clerk.
Second.
How does council vote?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. At this time, I would request that the treasurer swear in the new city clerk.
Okay, so we will now administer the oath for city clerk. Please raise your right hand and state the oath.
I, Sarah Osborne, do solemnly swear that I support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wyoming, and that I have not knowingly violated any law related to my election or appointment, or caused it to be done by others, and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you so much. You can sign that off now. Go ahead, I'll sign off on that.
Oh, yeah. Yes,
Also, probably do this, if you don't mind, when we go into the next session.
Oh, okay.
Do I have to sign that, or is it?
Just that you can.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. This time I will, for the record, note that we have switched the clerk who was acting, and now officially Sarah Osborne is acting as clerk and taking record for us. Council approvals, we're going to go ahead and move forward. Do I have a report from staff on 257 Business Park?
Yes, good evening, Ms. Mayor and Council. I have for you the applications for the 257 Business Park preliminary plat. The applicant is 2R Investments LLC. Their agent is ECS Engineering, and they are proposing to subdivide approximately 23 acres into a 4-lot commercial industrial subdivision. The lots range in size from 2.3 to 13.8 acres in size. The property is located at the southeast corner of the intersection of Highway 2026 and Highway 257, the new West Belt Loop. It is zoned established industrial, and there's no change in zoning requested or required. and the following planning considerations apply to the plat. Compliance with the City of Mills design standards in regards to right-of-way, width and infrastructure improvements. They need an approved access permit from YDOT for the approaches off of highways 2026 and 257. They need to add road names to all the streets within the subdivision, submit their infrastructure plans or copy of permits to DEQ, as well as their drainage study. They need to address or delineate the drainage easement on the plat. There are some surveying corrections and reviews and cosmetic revisions to the plat. And on December 7th, the Planning Commission made a due pass recommendation of this preliminary plat with the following exceptions. That the requirement that the subdivision streets be dedicated to the City of Mills be waived. That an approval of a signed agreement or statement on the face of the plat be placed there after review by city staff, that no maintenance of the ingress and egress access easements. There will be no maintenance on the part of the City of Mills for the ingress and egress access easements, and also accepting 40-foot wide public access easements for the streets. And with that, I can answer any questions.
And I think, just to briefly add, I think it would also be a requirement of the City of Mills that it be clear that the City of Mills does not have any repair responsibilities for any damage to the easement roads within the subdivision that may accompany the City of Mills working on the public utilities that are subject to a public utilities easement in favor of Mills.
I would agree with that.
I'll add that language for the applicant, and as soon as they send over a revised plat with that language, I'll send it around for review.
Thank you. Thank you.
I would move that we table the 257 Business Park until some of these comments have been addressed and we've had a chance to review them more thoroughly.
And council, just briefly, and may have already been mentioned, I believe that there was discussion by some of the council members of requiring a signage, which the developer is willing to do regarding a turn on to Highway 2026. Perhaps that was already mentioned and I may have failed to hear it.
I may have missed it as
We
well.
wanted to add that consideration.
Yes, we
Thank
definitely
you.
have that.
My apologies.
Thank you.
So we do have the motion and then the second to table this item. How does council want to discuss the table? All right, how does council vote?
Aye.
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 Motion to table passes. Mills Finishing Tank Project, notice of award. Do we have a report from staff?
It's not here.
No?
I would move that we approve the notice to award on that finishing tank project.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Yeah, why don't we have a staff report?
Because we had it in our work session last meeting?
Is it in our packet?
No, not right now.
I just didn't know if there was more to it that specific.
No, just for a conversation. We're gonna have to find funding for some additional, but we've gone ahead and chosen to award it to
Andrew Hunt.
Andrew Hunt. Yeah, so that still stands.
Yeah.
Is there any other discussion? How does council vote? Aye.
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 Motion passes. We have an item for citizen relief fund, but we're gonna,
That was taken care of in the work session, was just a informational only.
informational about a fundraiser that works. Resolution number 2024-01, first of the year, ratifying acceptance of real property.
I move that we approve resolution number 2024-01.
Second.
Is there any discussion? How does council vote?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. At this time, we will go ahead and move into open discussion, but I'm gonna highlight some of our procedures within the council here. We do have a decorum that we recognize, and we ask that the gallery recognize as well. The only time at which someone from the gallery can speak is at the podium, and so, that helps, doesn't it? And if at any time that anybody speaks out of turn and is not at the podium, you may be asked to leave. So once again, I'd like to reiterate, the only time that somebody can speak is at the podium. When you approach the podium, please state your name and address for the record. You have a 5-minute time limit. I would recommend reviewing your notes to keep it within that time. You will address the council with your concerns, and we can address clarification if we need to from there. At this time, is there anyone within the gallery who would like to speak to the council?
I'd like to speak.
You can go ahead and approach the lectern. Thank you.
My name is Francis Ackley, and I'm at 6471 Meadowwind Way in the Platteview Estates subdivision. I've been a resident of Platteview Estates since August of 2020. My wife and I chose Platteview Estates because of the small neighborhood, the large lots, the peace and quiet of the subdivision, the views, and the lack of traffic. We were recently made aware of the site master plan for the Wyoming Classical Academy and have some concerns over the access off Poison Spider Lane. Platteview Estates consist of 45 lots, with 32 of those either occupied or under construction. While I am speaking for myself today, I consulted with nearly every homeowner, and roughly 95% of us oppose the access to the school from Poison Spider Lane. When I first learned of the proposed school over 2 years ago, I was very much in favor of it, as I have grandkids whom I hoped could attend the school. I'm still not opposed to the school, despite the impact it will have on our small community. As stated above, the reasons we moved here for a number of reasons. Now the peace and quiet, the views, and the lack of traffic will be no more once the school is built. We'll be left with a larger lot, but none of the other amenities that brought us to Platteview Estates. I understand that communities need schools, and that is why I'm not opposing the school, but only the access to it. I enjoy seeing the kids playing in our streets. They're able to do this because of the lack of traffic. The proposed access from Poison Spider Lane will make our streets less safe for kids as a result of several hundred vehicles driving through the subdivision daily on streets that were paid for by the homeowners. Furthermore, if any of us were to park on Poison Spider Lane, we can expect a visit from law enforcement, as parking is not allowed. Our HOA covenants stipulate that on-street parking anywhere in the subdivision is restricted, which for us was another reason for moving to Platteview Estates. I expect that there will be vehicles parking on Poison Spider Lane as kids are being dropped off and picked up. The initial plans that I was made aware of showed that access would be provided from Robertson Road, not Poison Spider Lane. I have a few questions as to why this has changed. Why did Lisa Burridge incorporate as Greenbrier Partners LLC in March of 2022 for this parcel of land? Why was the access originally from Robertson Road changed to Poison Spider Lane? Why were the property boundaries changed? The parcel of land where the school sits originally abutted Robertson Road, but now doesn't. The north and south approaches on Robertson Road to Poison Spider Lane are at the bottom of a hill. This intersection becomes dangerous when the roads are slick, and the increase in congestion will cause more accidents. Was this given any consideration? A traffic light is not going to solve this problem. Why weren't the Platteview Estates homeowners, the ones most directly impacted by the school, directly contacted by either the city or the school? With property values of between $25 and $30 million upon completion of all the lots, and property taxes paid to the county of over $200,000 annually, common courtesy and being a good neighbor would demand some notification to the affected property owners. Property taxes have risen nearly 30% in just the 3.5 years since we've moved in, and I'm sure other property owners have seen increases higher than ours. Access to the school from Poison Spider Lane will likely lower property values. For who would want to buy in a neighborhood on a short dead-end street with several hundred vehicles driving through daily. It is likely that ingress and egress from our driveways will be difficult, if not halted, when kids are being dropped off and picked up. Does this constitute an unconstitutional taking of property value? Would you want to buy a home on Poison Spider Lane? I'm asking City Council to reassess the site master plan for access to the school and provide access from other than Poison Spider Lane. Our vision for our quality of life is at stake, and I think you know that impacting this community in such a negative way is the wrong thing to do. As a citizen of Mills, I ask that you represent our values and concerns, as well as those of my neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you for speaking. Can we get either of you, do we have access to the site plan that was submitted by the school? Or can you recall what the title of that email was? I can search it.
I printed out some copies if you want to see it.
Oh, do you have that? Would be lovely. That would save us time. Thank you.
There wasn't traffic.
Makes it a little easier.
At the intersection, it said that this would be accepted.
Okay.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you so much.
Give you something to reference to.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Last but not least. Thank you. There we go. So you can see where the parking is, all right? What we're talking about is up above there, that's our tract.
Thank you.
This is our tract. So you can see how it's gonna impact us big time.
Yeah. Will that do that one man over here, right? You get access.
Thank you.
That's the year.
Thank you.
He's got access.
Okay.
We've got access there.
Well, I hate to start off my reply with a negative here, but I know that the last request that you, well, pretty much the main request that you had asked was to reassess the plan. The unfortunate thing that I have to tell you is that we can't reassess what we've already approved. That's not the process. The unfortunate thing is the window was missed for the opportunity to deal with this issue, during which we had public comment for the site plan and all that. I would refer to our attorney as to if there is any process to bring this back, but I'm not aware of one.
So there's no process available to reassess the site plan. In fact, actually, the irony of it is, as you mentioned, an unconstitutional taking. If we were actually to go back and unring the bell in some fashion on our approved site plan, that would in fact be a taking. So the administrative process has already occurred. Your remedy, to the extent there would be one, would be in regards to addressing the streets and whatnot as it developed in the future, which is the same right that any Mill citizen has regarding the streets in the town in general or those outside of their houses. But there's nothing that can be done at this point regarding this plan. It is an approved plan.
You asked about a traffic study, and I do know that there was one done in regards to this, and it was done at that intersection, saying that it would handle it and everything else. Megan?
I guess just to comment and alleviate some concerns, there was the traffic study completed. The school is required to, they're making improvements to Poison Spider Lane. It's going to be widened. There will be turn lanes for traffic to turn in to the parking lot so that it won't back up. And then as they further develop the school, a site plan for phase 2 will be required, so that will be an opportunity for people to come back and comment, and maybe they'll be able to offer more substantial comments once the first phase of the school is in and been opened. And the school is required at the time of phase 2 to reevaluate the traffic study and conditions at that time, and if any mitigation is warranted at that time, putting in those improvements then. So we've definitely taken a look at the traffic, the conditions on Poison Spider, made requirements of the school to make improvements to Poison Spider Lane so that it doesn't impact the surrounding property owners.
Does the city currently maintain and own Poison Spider Lane?
It's a dedicated
It's a
street.
dedicated street.
So I appreciate the sentiment, if, and I'm not aware if it's correct, but that if the residents paid for that road to be established, I'm not aware of it. However, if deterioration takes place, that's on the city now too, which I realize is still saying that the residents, taxpayers handle that, but the city is responsible for that.
If I could, are you aware of how that subdivision is laid out?
I
You
am,
must realize that it's not just going to affect Poison Spider Lane, but all through that subdivision.
yeah, you only have one entrance into your subdivision.
Right, and it's, Poison Spider Lane is a dead-end road. So if you think that the traffic is going to be restricted to Poison Spider Lane, I can assure you it won't be. With 200 or 300 vehicles a day coming through there, there's definitely going to be traffic on our streets.
Yeah, we agree, I'm sorry, we agree on that, I'm not quite sure. As far as I know you had mentioned the enforcement of parking and traffic, that enforcement, I'm not sure how the HOA has it laid out, but however, we do have to enforce that currently at the school, parking and traffic and all that. The same laws would apply if somebody parked on a road and blocked the moving traffic or the ability for traffic to move. And that would be enforced by the city police officers.
Okay, well, I don't believe it's ever too late to make a difference, and I will continue striving to do so. I really think that it would be common courtesy to send a note, a letter to the homeowners that are most severely impacted by your decision to allow the school the parking out the Poison Spider.
Megan, Ms. Mills, sorry, if you, I am not familiar, this is where it gets muddy for me, as far as at what point we notify the residents of a site plan or a change of use.
So generally, we wouldn't.
Mail, I'm sorry, mail notification.
Right, so currently in the regulations, we only mail notification in the case of a rezoning, which this property was not rezoned. The school is allowed in the urban ag district. We do not mail for site plans either. And it's anticipated, I have it included in the updated subdivision regulations that will be before you probably next month to provide notification of subdivisions, but not for site plans. It would only be for rezonings or subdivisions. And so I just advise to keep, an eye on your all's agenda to see what's coming up.
I would agree. That would be the same as if your neighbor is gonna build something and, we would not be mailing out to the entire neighborhood that your neighbor chose to build on that piece of land. I don't disagree that this is a much bigger impact, however. That I would agree with Ms. Nelms that keeping an eye on the city business, as far as agendas go, they're published online. We could have got ahead of this instead of trying to figure out how to. There's almost no correcting after the fact.
My name is Robin Bay, and my address is 566 Westview Way. All right. My question is, how many students do we think we're going to have at the very beginning? Minimum of 500, wouldn't you think? Wouldn't you say 500?
Give you a number
Who knows?
specifically.
I don't think.
All right, but every one of those is going to have a parent that's going to drop the kids off. They're not going to have a bus for them. All right, so we're going to have 500 folks dropping their kids off at the same time. That's going to circle around our whole tract, and as you can see the map there, all these streets are going to be impacted. It's going to be a huge nightmare. Where I lived before, I was 4 houses down from an elementary school. Okay, only elementary. There were times I couldn't even get out of my driveway because people double park trying to get in there to drop their kids off. So it's going to be like that. It's going to be a real nightmare. I don't know how many folks are from our tract right here. All right, so obviously, it's important enough for us to come and speak to you to try to have some sort of influence. Do we agree that their school's gonna come in? Yes. But if there's any way that they can manipulate the parking situation so it doesn't impact our streets, that'd be wonderful. Everybody's fine with the school. It's just the fact that we don't wanna be impacted in our driveways or even for emergency services. Thank you.
Megan?
I guess I'll make just one more note as well, that the site plan was revised. They're not going to be completing the entire parking lot at this time, but they did make the amendment to extend the second western entrance farther down, where parking will be extended when phase 2 is constructed, but they're going to have a very, very, very long pickup line as you turn off of Poison Spider. It'll be the furthest west entrance that's shown past the proposed parking. So we did not anticipate anybody being, as many people lined up on the street, and that's why we encouraged them, and they agreed to it, to pave and make that furthest west entrance right now with phase 1.
Thank you.
I would wonder if maybe posting some signage along the Poison Spider Lane about not parking there would help a little bit with some of the traffic.
How you doing? I'm Casey Thornsberry. I live at 6470 Poison Spider. I leave work about, I don't know, sometimes 4:30 in the morning, sometimes 5:30, sometimes 6:30. And at all those hours of the morning when I'm leaving, from the crest of the hill that's coming up Robertson, there's brake lights all the way to the stop sign. I see people sliding and getting close to hitting people. There's people in our ditch already on Poison Spider right now. And I'm just kind of, I'm just wondering what's gonna happen to mitigate the problem from people hauling ass up the hill. And then, because you're late for school, you're getting your kids to school, we gotta go. And we're gonna jam up the hill, and then right when they get to the top of the hill, there's gonna be brake lights. And then there's gonna be accidents on a regular basis. We see it right now. So I'm kind of wondering, what's the plan of attack to fix that? If you're not gonna fix, we already established that you're not gonna fix the road. But what are we gonna do about, it's not a hypothetical. The cops this officer standing right here, I know that he knows what I'm talking. There's accidents and near accidents all the time right there in that intersection. I'm just kind of curious. And then, you're leaving for work. You're like, okay, well, I got to leave for work now. And you've got a line of cars blocking the four-way stop. And now, instead of it taking you 10 minutes to get to work, you're talking about 35 minutes to get out of your driveway. And I actually know this for a fact because I grew up in front of a school that was, had 500, 600 kids that went to it, and it was constantly every day. I watched my dad drag people out of cars and kick the hell out of them over the situation because he's trying to leave. And not saying that that's the answer, but I don't understand what's going to happen. The school buses. Already the road's starting to buckle because the road base wasn't done right. So, once you start running school buses down, are they going to completely rip up the road and redo it? And what are we going to do to mitigate the, people slide out into the bypass all the time. Both those corners right there, I leave that way to work every day. They're icier than crap during the winter. If we lived in Florida, it might work, but it's not going to work here.
So if I can address them, so when we respond, if we ask that you stay at the podium so we can talk back to you specifically. If I can address a couple of the things that you had brought up, because it's a private, it's not private, it's a charter school, there will be no buses. It is not part of the district, so that resolved that issue. We are trying to find funding to get a stoplight there. We are well aware that it's an issue. I also want to make very clear to the gallery here, I would agree with all of you, this is a problem. We're trying to, get the cart and the horse lined out now after the fact, unfortunately. So we need to get creative about how we're gonna find a solution to this. This is going to be challenging and difficult because we've waited until after it's been passed, voted on, and established to now address the concerns, which is a very out of order process. As far as the speeding goes, if that's a problem currently, then we need to address that as well. But the big thing here is, yes, we're aware of the traffic, and we are trying to source money for a stoplight there because we think that intersection would warrant something like that.
Even the stoplight though, that's what with the more traffic, when you have a blind, it's gonna be a blind intersection because you're coming up the hill. If traffic's backed up and you come up over the hill and it's icy, right? And you come over the crest of the hill and there's traffic backed up to the base of the hill and you come up over it, once you're committed to coming up over it, unless you're doing 4 miles an hour going up the hill, you're gonna rear end people. Right? I mean, like because like you're like, oh crap, like everybody stopped. So I guess that's kind of where I'm at with it. How did it get passed? How did you guys vote on it? If you guys didn't understand the layout of our subdivision, how did you guys vote on something that would negatively affect the residents that were already there instead of actually knowing how it was laid out? I guess that's another question.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, we rely on situations just like this where the residents show up and let us know. You would know better than all of us here because we don't live in that neighborhood. So you would have been the expert in that moment and should have came and spoke at the public comment for that.
And I think and I don't know about the rest of the folks here, but when I bought my house from Lisa Burridge, I was 100% reassured that when they built that school, there was going to be no access granted from Poison Spider. So to me, when I bought that house and I bought my property, it was a null point. It didn't even make any sense to go to the damn meeting because we didn't know what was going to happen. And I don't know, am I wrong? Did the rest of you guys get sold that? So I don't know.
If there's any sort of
You know what I mean? So that's probably why we weren't here, because it's definitely a concern.
I would agree with that. I'm not aware of what was promised. It's not my responsibility, and it would have been in poor taste if the realtor would have made any promises to you.
Yeah.
However, if any of you have the ability to prove that claim, then I would suggest you take it to the developer and state that. That would be more of a civil way to handle that. Civil, you know. Councilman Newmiller addressed that there's 2 squares. So are these lots that are available for sale right now?
The whole thing was one parcel at one time, and what they did was they broke out the proposed site for the school. That was a donation type thing that they ended up with, or the reduced price, leaving the other spot so that they had that intersection right there at the little corner piece for development later on by what they were doing. So that's the reason that they didn't go out to Robertson Road, from what I would understand, just looking at this.
Offer some clarification on that.
And, you know, we're asking them to widen the road and, you know, extend that drive out so that we aren't impacting you as much. That's kind of what Megan went over. So we've attempted to address all of this as well as get the school. Is there going to be growth problems here? I think there possibly could be, and we're all going to learn and deal with those as they come up. Some of that could be increased police traffic, stopping the parking along the streets, keeping things moving. It may end up being a stoplight, we don't know yet.
And council, just so it's clear, because I don't know if it's always clear to the residents, by the time this gets here, it's actually been through planning and zoning, which planning and zoning has regularly scheduled meetings. They're always open to the public. On occasion, they're very well attended. I think there's a member of planning and zoning who, you know, may wish to be hiding today, but actually here in the audience at the time. But there's a process that goes through planning and zoning before it gets to the city council. There's a recommendation from staff. There's another open hearing here before anything's approved.
I mean, there was nothing that really stood out on this that said that we couldn't approve it, is what it boils down to, and that's why it's here.
And I get it, right? Like, you're making money for the city, and I understand that part of it, but, you know, like, the other side of it is how it's gonna impact the rest of the people that are living there, so, and I understand the business side of it, but it's kinda, I don't know.
I've got a 7-year-old over in Journey. And go over there when school's going or getting out and see what kind of a mess it is over there getting in and out. You got a school here. There's just no way of getting any kind of traffic in and out of the school zone without having a congestion. I mean, people are people and they're gonna get kids there any way they can.
Yeah.
So it's, like, you know, I mean, no matter where we put the school, it's still gonna be the same situation, guys. So,
Well,
we just,
Yeah, I do want to clarify that this is not a financial gain for the city. It's a way of delivering to our residents a school again, when the Trona County pulled not one, but both of the schools from you guys. You deserve to have your children educated in this community, as well as some of that funding that flows to that was going to Casper over you guys. So that's important to know. Your property taxes was funding Casper schools over your own school. And again, I'd like to reinforce, I agree with you guys. I've personally looked at purchasing a home over there. And yeah, you're gonna be affected, it's gonna be a nightmare. I think that the way I'm looking at this map is I might reach out to the developer and see if there's not a way that we can, I can't make any promises, but maybe we can talk to the developer and see if we can't find at least one other access to this piece of property.
One other thing, what else are they gonna do about the big gas pipeline that's running through there? If they're gonna build a parking lot on top of it?
Yes.
Yeah. I just,
Yeah, it'll be a parking lot on top of it. The easement stays, but you can park over the top of it.
okay. All right, fair enough.
Good evening, my name is Donald Oakes, 6753 Poison Spider Lane. I'm not a member of the homeowners association, but my property is directly adjacent to the proposed school. And I have two questions for the council members. Being a direct contact into the proposed subdivision, why wasn't I notified that any of this stuff was going on? Is it common practice to keep the people in the dark?
I believe that Megan Nelms had addressed that just previously, and that, think of it in the way that if your neighbor wanted to build a garage on their property, they wouldn't notify you either. It would go through the processes that the city attorney addressed, which was multiple processes, all of which are public notification via
Public
print,
notifications is how?
print, newspaper, postage.
Newspaper?
Which we are
That's a whole
required to
other
do by
record,
law. We're required to do that by law.
Yes.
Mills is actually the municipality that has been trying to change that to get you more effective notice. But if you don't like notice through the newspaper, there's a bill drafted by the city of Mills to attempt to change that so we can get more effective. But otherwise, that's what the state tells us to do.
Okay, yeah, I'm actually still in the county, but at my property line, my 90 acres is directly adjacent to the proposed school. Now, another question for the council members, and we have lived in that property for 34 years, so I have more history of what's going on about that intersection of the property than probably most of the people here combined, with the exception of a few people. We have seen the traffic on Robertson Road increase probably 25-fold in the last 5 years, especially since they put the new bypass in. I would ask each one of the council members, you say you've done a traffic study out there, which one of you folks has been on that corner of Poison Spider and Robertson Road, Poison Spider, Robertson Lane, whichever way you want to call it, have been on that piece of road between 7:15 and 8:15 in the morning and between 3:15 and 4:15 in the afternoon? Okay? You know what a nightmare is. They're stacked up 15 and 20 deep. Okay? I have been there, again, for the last 34 years. I hear the accidents happen. 5 or 6 times I've been the first one to call 911 because I've seen the accidents happen there. I think your traffic studies are remiss and neglectful.
You-
Okay?
Just to clarify, the traffic study is done by Wyoming Department of Transportation.
Yeah, and they're also the one that says there weren't gonna be any accidents at the corner of the new bypass and 220 when they killed 5 people and 6 horses.
To make a clarification on my apologies, I misspoke, it's a private company. So, and I don't want to confuse the gallery, when you do a traffic study, it does not study the entire road. It's a specific.
I want you
study.
folks to really be aware with your own eyes. Don't trust what some studies telling you, because Wyoming Department of Transportation said there weren't gonna be any accidents at the corner of the bypass and the new Robertson Road. There have been at least 7 major ones since we've been living there that I've seen personally. I would ask again, and then I'll shut up. Go look for yourselves, please.
I would greatly appreciate your contact information because I share the same sentiments and frustrations with WYDOT on that specific intersection. And I'm trying to get that changed, but it's state funded and you know how that goes. We are well aware that that road's a problem, and because of our chief of police has informed us of how bad it is, we're well aware that traffic is congested and it's a bad situation. We're open to suggestions, but we're kind of a little bit have our hands tied with how the funding is and what we can do with some of that.
Hi, good evening. My name is Shandia Thornsberry. I live at 6470 Poison Spider Lane. My question is this, and I know that you said that maybe we should go to the developer and speak to her about what she said, Lisa Burridge and Associates. When my husband and I had put a deposit on our house, we were informed after the fact that they could possibly be putting the school up in a few years. I was told that the school, I know you guys said that there was no number of students, but I was told that the school would not be built until 600 had confirmed for the school. So I'm assuming it's at least 600 because that's what they were told that they had to have in order to move the school building over there.
I think
That was
that
for
was
the
an
principal.
optimistic goal, but we have not reached that by far, unfortunately.
Okay,
We're strong, but we're not 600 strong.
okay. Well, the principal had told me that they had to have 600. So we were going to pull our deposit. We're going to lose the portion and pull it because we did not want to be, like my husband said, he had lived his entire life across the school from an elementary. My in-laws had lived for 35 years across from an elementary. We did not want that. We were told specifically that there would be 0 traffic that went into our subdivision and that the access would 100% be off of Robertson. So, what repercussions or what penalties is Lisa Burridge and Associates going to have from our city of Mills for lying to your guys' residents? She bald-faced lied.
Unfortunately, there's nothing that we can do with Lisa Burridge at that point for that.
Then how
That would
can
be
you not?
something between you and her.
But what I'm saying is, what penalties should she get for lying to your residents? These are your taxpayers. These are the people that are buying and trusting what is being said about our city.
So I'd like to clarify the confusion here. This is a one property owner to another property owner, and the city has no legal right to dictate how those 2 property owners resolve their issues. That is a civil process that it does not take place in a city council or government. So what I'm saying is, it would be, I can't even recommend because I'm not qualified to recommend. I would, if in your shoes, seek legal representation.
Oh, no, I am. We are.
Because I feel that that would be your best avenue as a.
But she still has to get zoning and things through City of Mills. So you guys are going to continue to give her zoning and give her the ability to build in City of Mills when you know that she is lying to the residents.
I can't.
There's an issue there. I mean, it makes it hard to trust the city.
I did not, so I understand your frustrations. I would be just as frustrated. However, I cannot hold her to her promises or lack thereof or following through. As a mayor or council, we cannot enforce anything on the residents, whether they promise anything or not to each other or developers. All I can do is enforce what we have in our ordinances and the site plan that was proposed to us. I don't disagree that this is an issue. What I'm saying is that your legal avenue is not through us, it's through civil
No,
action.
I completely understand that.
Yeah.
I feel like City of Mills should hold her responsible though, and I know she has to go through the city to get certain permits, zoning, yada, yada, yada. My other issue that I have is, and I just lost my train of thought. Well, that one just flew right out the door, so I can't even think about what that was.
You know, I'll say I totally sympathize with you because I also built with Lisa Burridge and was promised lots of things.
Yes.
And so I just don't know if all realtors do that or what, but waited for them to sell their properties. It's just to kind of tell us what we want to hear. So.
No, I understand that, but when you're actually looking at proposed plans and they're telling you that this is gonna be here and that this isn't going to, you know, affect your traffic, there is a reason that we all bought over there, because it was quiet, because we were told it was a rural neighborhood. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. So, we were being told that the road is gonna be widened and have a turn lane, but it's not even a legit 2-lane road as of right now. So, are they going to now be pushing out into the side of our property? Or are they gonna continue to the left? Because the water table is extremely high over there. That's why those properties over there cannot have basements. So how are they going to continue to push out over there when the water table is so high?
That's the engineering end of it. They'll build a road where they want it.
Okay. Well, the other thing that I can say is, as our mayor said, she said, well, you guys were the experts in the demographic and what was going on in the traffic, and I think that as the experts, that our subdivision, we're one subdivision. It would have been 35 to 40 people that you had contact. I think we should have been brought in, and we should have been asked, how is traffic? What is going on with the situation? It's not hard. We're a small town of a couple thousand people. We're not Denver, we're not Cheyenne. I mean, with all the people coming in, it would have been very easy. We're a couple thousand people to make contact with us. How are we supposed to know that we're supposed to be watching minutes every single month or every 2 weeks or however often you guys get together to see if there's something possibly proposed that's going to be coming up about our subdivisions? We're busy people, everybody's busy. It wouldn't have taken but a few minutes to contact all of us. I think it could have been a courtesy that could have been done.
I agree with that. However, you said so yourself that you were aware that a school was coming in. So that responsibility would have fell on you.
But I was told that it was off of Robertson.
So
So why would I watch for that if I was told 100% that it would never be allowed in our subdivision? We don't even have sidewalks.
I don't disagree with that, but the same token, it would have been wise to come and see the site plan for yourself and offer that information and those statements yourself. That's the only way we could have prevented this from taking place. Let me clarify is that a boundary line?
Yes, I think probably.
Okay, so yeah, there's quite a bit of distance to widen that road with the property lines right now. That is not gonna encroach on personal property.
Except for there's a ditch.
Yeah, you know that there's 3 houses right now across the street. Okay, so it's gonna encroach on somebody's property.
No, the property line, boundary line, which is available on the GIS mapping system, identifies where those property lines are, and even if they widened it, it would not take anybody's property.
My name is Willie Forbes, 6440 Poison Spider Lane. I would just like to express my concern for safety with the one-way in, one-way out to our neighborhood. If there was something to happen with somebody at the school or any of the residents in our neighborhood, getting emergency services into that location in a congested situation could be difficult. I don't know that has been brought up yet, but safety should be a large concern, and I know in every building there has to be a way in and a way out, more than one, and I don't know how that works in neighborhoods, but if something were to happen at that intersection and emergency vehicles were not able to get in and help someone in need, that is concerning to me, and I would like to, if that's avenue that we could utilize to revisit, I think safety, and I don't know if there's any code enforcement on that at all, but I would like to bring that up.
I think it's a great point, thank you.
Thanks.
Howdy all. My name is Rohan Prasad. I live on 600 Blue Sky Drive. I'm not gonna say most of my points because I've heard a lot of just hand washing and absolving, whatever, so I'll just keep it short and sweet. We moved here from Wisconsin, from a similarly sized city, Casper, and in that neighborhood there was also one way in, one way out. Plenty of traffic problems, only a stop sign for us and a 4-lane thoroughfare for us to navigate. So at least here I guess we have a 4-way stop, okay, fine. But if you guys are actually gonna do this, build a school, all that stuff, I implore you, please don't put a roundabout. They put a roundabout in our old neighborhood. It sucks. From the day they put it to the day we left. Please don't put a roundabout. And I think there's still ample time to comment on that situation.
There will be no roundabout.
Yeah,
It's
please
been
don't.
looked at.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, Wisconsin is the land of roundabouts. No roundabout.
And, yeah, land of roundabouts and cows and milk and cheese.
Yes, thank you for your comments.
Good evening, Dan Holman, 601 Blue Sky Drive. Is there a separate drawing for the road widening that has been approved with this site map, or is that approved separate?
Yeah, we will have design plans and I'll have to get a permit to construct.
The road.
Will there be a review period on that?
Yes.
And public comment?
No, public comment.
Is it gonna go through planning and zoning?
No, it'll just be a public works, Matt and Mike review.
Is there any way we can change that for public comment so we can at least control a little of our destiny in this?
I'll refer to our.
So it is up to the city council if they want to, it's already a design condition.
Good.
So whether, you probably can't change the design condition, but you can certainly entertain public comment on it and take advice and consent or you could take advice from the public when that comes up. So it would be possible if the council wishes to include that as an agenda item on a future city council meeting.
Do we have a time frame on when we're gonna get that?
Yeah, I'm checking.
Okay, I would also maybe I would like to create that and then also invite the developer to.
And we could also do that.
Should he have the stand brands or, I thank you, that's a great suggestion and we will, so I think what we will specifically do is create an agenda item on our council meeting. Although it's not traditional standard practices, we need to do it in this situation.
Yep, appreciate that.
So with that being said, keep an eye on the public notifications, which are posted on our website, and it'll show the council agenda, just like what you guys had up there, and that'll show you what'll be on our agenda.
You got that, Fran? You gonna keep watching that?
Also, this is recorded, and it's on YouTube, so you can find us
Oh,
there.
sweet, I'm excited. And then, so, heard all the stuff, phase one's already approved, everything else, like, nothing we can do about it at this point, right? Is there any plans in the works for, because I work in the construction industry and I know traffic studies, I know all that stuff. It's all designed, it's all great, and it's gonna work perfect. Is there any provisions that we can put in place as like a post-study to see the actual impacts once it's constructed? So that we can take those in consideration for phase two?
Yeah, I believe they do that.
There'll be a new assessment when phase 2 comes up, so you will be looking at that. It's similar, so we'll be looking at that
Okay,
before
so there's-
phase 2 becomes around.
Yeah, so there is an opportunity for phase two so we can.
Yes,
really-
when phase 2 comes around, there'll be a whole nother study and everything else to see what's happened here and how to evaluate that.
So we have a pre and a post, and then we have potential future impact, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I think that's it for me, thank you.
Which that's what, when we, we talked about the stoplight and stuff like that.
Mhm.
That would be possible avenues for looking at the future
Okay.
development, because those were some ideas that were coming up at that point.
Okay.
And
Appreciate
those will
it.
be evaluated when that comes in.
Okay, so we'll watch for that as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know my friend. You watched all that, yeah.
I do greatly appreciate, a couple of you had some creative solutions, and I do greatly appreciate that thought process, because that's what stuff like this takes to resolve some of these issues, because a lot of our hands are bound by statutes and ordinances.
Scott Clamp, 720 Wasatch. A couple things. Has that land for that school already been purchased?
Donated.
Donated.
It's donated?
Not, just clarify, not by us, by the developer.
By the developer?
Yes.
Okay. Has the, being all them lots aren't sold and the development is not done yet, has the developer signed over that whole neighborhood to you guys yet?
It's, just to clarify, it would never be our neighborhood. It's
I
the developers.
I know, but you all know I've construction my whole damn life. So in Eastgate and stuff, when we did Eastgate and Rustic Ridge, until it was full, to answer a question that somebody asked, or you said something about, if something goes on as far as infrastructure or damage to them streets, until that's all completed, that's the developer, not the town.
The subdivision, no, at that point, when the subdivision is completed, you go through that walk-in area, those streets are dedicated to the city. At that point, after the warranty period, you take control of it.
Yeah, okay. But
Some of those are public streets at this point.
But some of them aren't yet, because it's not all completed.
The subdivision is complete and the roads are all in.
Okay.
So they are constructed, they went through the warranty period, so those streets are considered public streets per the plat.
Okay, as far as property values, in the town of Mills, I've lived here all my life, and when we did not have schools, our property values dropped. Did our taxes? Absolutely not. My taxes dropped because Lisa Burridge, or raised because Lisa Burridge did all this development up here that you guys are all talking about. Mine doubled. I went from $900 to $2,000 a year in probably one of the oldest parts of Mills, which I think I got shafted. They did. I went down and complained, and of course, Matt Keaton would say, well, we got all these people from California and all these people want to come in, and I don't care. I own this whole neighborhood. I bought 3 blocks. My family's bought 3 blocks for a reason. Not for to pay because all this new development. I mean, how many times them people up there, they got sidewalks, they got new streets, they don't roto-root their sewers once a year, and I'm being punished. You guys know how that is. But when schools come back in, like they are, our property values do go up because people want to buy houses where they can have schools and send their children to them. So is it a good move? Yeah, it is a good move. All these schools being reused are good moves. But we do need to accommodate the people that were told something when they purchased it. And I know you weren't there, so it's just hearsay as far as what you're hearing here. But if any of these people have any kind of record of anything that was told to them, man, that'd be really sweet for all of this. So I think there's a solution. There needs to be a solution. The road that, or I haven't even been out there. I know that Dawn and me know each other pretty good, and I know that Myers had a lot of that land out there and not on that side and everything, and it's all went sort of crazy, the development and everything that's been going on in them areas. But the access that they're talking off of Robinson Road that was gonna come in the beginning of this, why did that get stopped? Did them lots all of a sudden be valuable for housing to be on instead of a road?
You might be onto something, but I can't speak to that fact because I'm a developer.
I know that, but I watched Lisa because of my Eastgate experience and my Rustic Ridge experience and all the, I date myself when I say up there behind Sunrise experience. As many years I've been doing construction, but you go look at some of them houses, and I'm not stupid, neither are you guys. They jam them houses in tight next to each other like you're living in New York and make the damn streets narrow so they can sell one or two more lots. Sort of like parking in Walmart, man. Get rid of one parking spot and open it up so we can open our damn doors. Right? You guys need to oversee, you're the ones that's overseeing this, you and the zoning. When they're trying to put all this stuff on a postage stamp, you need to tell them no. One of the smartest guys that said something once at a development was Keith Goodenough. When they were, back to experience, when they were redoing Sage Hill up there and starting to develop all that, he says, you know, we need to tell some of these developers no when they're wanting to develop these properties that we know have bad ground and problems, because we let them develop it, and then they go away, and the problem lands back on the town. Because these people are pissed because their houses are moving around or they're swelling, and out there where, on the other side of Robinson Road across from Dawn, where Jimmy had was nothing but alkali and stuff, and I feel sorry for them people in 20, 30 years when their foundations and stuff start eating away because where they built. And it will happen, because it happened in Sage Hill. So, you know, I'm for the school, but I think the council and everything, you need to pressure the developer to try to find a different direction to enter this stuff and help these people out, and it gets the monkey off your back a little too. Thanks.
I will, thank you. I will say that during this whole discussion, I did reach out to the developer to start that conversation and writing an email to send a directive that when we receive the road permit, that we put it on the agenda to discuss before that permit is moved through the process.
So Ms. Mayor and Council, I will say we do have it's not design drawings, but it was included in your council packet when the school site plan was approved, the surfacing, and we have this detailed. There will be a dedicated right turn lane at the intersection, and then an additional 12-foot lane will be installed all the way to it'll be the second entrance to the school. So there'll be a right, left-hand turn lane. It'll essentially, Poison Spider Lane will be 3 lanes from Robertson to the second entrance of the school in phase 1. And then Poison Spider Lane will be 3 lanes all the way to the dead end of phase 2.
So just to clarify,
No.
that road construction permit is already, or is it still going to be taking place?
I don't think a permit to construct has been issued, but we do have the design of what it's going to look like.
Okay, thank you.
According to the recent speaker, then if that phase 2 goes all the way down Poison Spider Lane.
I apologize, not all the way to the
Thank
end.
you, okay. The reason why I did not go to the city council meetings, I went to like 3 or 4 of the school meetings when they were first getting started. I looked at a site plan. The site plan showed access off of Robertson Road. The site plan showed that that property went all the way to Robertson Road. I checked on the assessor's website before I came to this meeting. That property did go all the way to Robertson Road. In 2022, Lisa Burge became involved. I don't believe in coincidences like that. So I don't know if she talked to you guys directly or how she got things changed around, but that was not the case when the initial plan was proposed for the school. Mayor, you said yourself that if this goes through, it's going to be a nightmare. You also said that the traffic congestion on Robertson Road is terrible. Yet, you're going to sit here and tell us that we can't do anything about these consequences that you know are going to happen. That's ridiculous. As a citizen of Mills and a taxpayer, I don't expect that as an answer. No, we can't do anything about it. No, our administrative procedures don't allow us to change anything. Things can always be changed if you want to change it, if you want to do it hard enough.
I do want to clarify, I never said no, we do not want to change it. I will always encourage creative thinking for problem-solving situations like this, which is my passion in this political realm, is creative thinking. Sometimes, and you might see something in the future where I have to creatively think. It might leave flashy or in the paper, that has to happen sometimes. So I'm not saying no, what I'm saying is we're going to have to approach this from a different road.
My advice, don't take what that developer says to be truthful in any way, shape, or form. Get the facts. I mean, I wish I would've got the facts when I bought the place. I'm sure all the other homeowners did too. I talked to a new homeowner that's been there a month. He's right on the corner of Poison Spider Lane and Robertson Road. And I went to talk to him, what school? He's been there a month. And that goddamn real estate broker, whoever it was, never told him the school was going in.
I don't know if there's any legal requirement to disclose that, though. For the realtor.
There's no disclosure requirement on the part of the.
I'm talking about being a good neighbor and common sense and courtesy, not what the damn law says.
Well, that's exactly the point.
What's the point?
The point is the law doesn't require the disclosure, so what would you have the city council do? I mean,
Send a letter to the homeowners, maybe?
To people who are purchasing property? How are we going to learn who is buying property so that we can go and then inform them there's a school coming?
No, I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, but all I'm saying is, as a city, it would be a courtesy to let the people know who are, I mean, you're changing our lives. That's all there is to it. Do you not think that changing people's lives might deserve a letter in the mail? And is it a requirement to be a citizen that you have to have internet access and Facebook and every other kind of social media and read the newspaper? It's not a requirement to be a citizen.
Yeah, I would, so, with the exception of the one landowner who owns the 40 acres, everybody who purchased was aware of the school, right? I'm not suggesting that what's happening is correct. I would also be frustrated. But with a school, as Councilman Sutherland identified, comes traffic. That's always been a problem. I'm stating for you guys now, we're going to try to creatively problem solve this. But no matter what, there's always going to be traffic around the school. I don't personally want to see that all of that traffic is on Poison Spider Lane, no. I would like to find a creative solution. It may cost money to find that creative solution though. So I want to identify that. The comments were made somewhat that, our property taxes will be influenced. Yes, they will. I would again remind you guys that no matter what, your property taxes largely go to fund Natrona County School District, of which stripped you all of 2 schools, and you still funded those. So we're still not getting 100% of that funding from Natrona County, but you have some legislators to thank for fighting for you, because we now get a portion of your property taxes back to fund that school. So I know that you're frustrated with the Poison Spider Lane thing. We will do our best to find a solution here, but keep in mind that there's other issues here as well.
I'm gonna do it again. These people are used to me.
Yes,
like I said, I really don't have much of a dog in this fight except for living here my whole life, and there's a reason I live in Mills. And I know it's hard to reach out to all these people, but if you guys get any updates or something like that, maybe a small little note in the newsletter with our water bills would help some of these people feel like they were a part of this. Thanks.
Thank you.
I have one, clarifying question. For the traffic study, I know it was done for Poison Spider Lane. Was it also taking into consideration like the addition of traffic to Robertson Road and Poison Spider Road down there? Okay.
The traffic study was done in knowing that the school was coming and what impact it would have and what we would need to do to develop that so that it would handle the increased traffic and load on there, which is where the additional lane come in, and into phase one, before phase two starts, we'll have another assessment so that we can move forward in that direction.
Okay, I guess one maybe suggestion, I don't know, Robertson Road, maybe that also needs to be widened, because now, if we're gonna have these now, we're talking about Poison Spider Lane being widened, the surrounding roads also are gonna have the increasing traffic, because again, one way in, one way out, so something to think about.
We would agree with you, but again, funding, I'm working on that also. And all of this stuff is a long-term solution, but we are working on what you said there.
Hello, I'm Christy Walker. I live at 535 Westview Way. I recently purchased and have lived there about 2 months. I didn't know there was a school at all until I went to a homeowners association meeting and was surprised. So I won't repeat any of the concerns. I share a lot of concerns with my neighbors. But one concern that I have that I haven't heard tonight is I've noted that our area kind of has a water problem. It tends to have potential for some flooding. My concern with additional roads and parking lots would be what would happen to the watershed and how much more water we would take on. So I would just ask that the council and the planner consider that moving forward, if at all possible.
Was the water drainage addressed?
There's a large drainage study that will come.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just to clarify, the water drainage was addressed in the site plan, so I don't disagree. Water is an issue over there.
Speaking of the water issue, Donald Oaks again. Again, we've lived on that property for approximately 35 years. And there is high groundwater out there, we all know about that. I irrigate out there, have drainage ditches, and we take care of the water off of that property. We, in our house, had never had water in our crawl space until the developer put in the drainage ditch for the sewer system. And I would suggest, and the water table out there has come up 18 inches since they put in that drainage pond, which is, in my opinion, improperly designed because it holds water and it does not drain water. Okay. My understanding is that pond was put in there in case the sewer system fails. They have a place to collect the sewer to mitigate the EP environmental stuff. But it's a valid point.
Yeah.
What you gonna do with the extra runoff that's gonna go down to that drainage pond from the parking lots and everything else? That needs to be seriously addressed. Again, I have some history out there, and again, we've never had a water problem in our crawl space until they put that drainage pond in.
They have a different drainage pond for this, I'm assuming, to keep all the water on site.
Apparently the
It's not in
pond
site
is
plan.
oversized. That's what Mr. Gustafson has relayed. So the
The-
water's probably coming from their subdivision to the pond because it was installed as part of that development, and the pond is oversized and it's large enough to accommodate the school.
I would question though, you both might be able to answer this question. Oversized depth or width? Or is there a better way, volume? Because I've seen it personally, because like I said earlier, I've looked at purchasing over there and it's pretty full.
Well, I don't doubt that there's probably been a lot of changes over there since the subdivision was installed. But we're just going by what the applicant's engineers submit and doing, based on that information, trying to mitigate the impacts from the development. And that's, the best we can do, even with public comment.
And I don't disagree with what you're saying. What we're doing is trying to use looking forward in the future, trying to guess what's gonna happen. And what we're doing now currently with another developer is this exact situation. We're trying to guess where the water is gonna go and how much they're gonna get it, and that's very difficult.
It goes downhill.
It goes
Yeah,
downhill.
and it goes into a retaining pond that's supposed to drain all water out. And at any given time of the year, there's anywhere between 18 inches and 2 feet of water in that pond, which is backing up into these people's basements and crawl spaces.
I think the property closest is, water table is 6 or 8 feet.
It's what?
No.
No, that's not right.
It's shallow.
Okay,
Shallow.
the
It's that problem.
30-year history is at my property, which is down over the hill, probably 20 feet in elevation lower. The water table there is between 4 and 8 feet. Since they put in the retaining pond, the water table is 18 inches below the surface, which backs up all the water into these people's basements and crawl spaces, or slabs.
For clarification, is that pond, does it have drainage or is it holding only?
There is one 18-inch culvert that drains to the west-northwest, which is of that property. I can show you on the site map where the pond is and where the drainage is, if you'd like to see it.
I agree with you, just for clarification, wondering if there was a drainage.
Is there any storm sewer infrastructure over there? That'd be a Mike question.
I don't think there is.
I think it's all surface drain.
Right, and I think it's a like.
It's designed
Retention
to
pond.
take care of surface water, but the water is backing up in the pond, which should be dry all the time, with the exception of a rain or that type of event. And again, the idea behind that retention pond is to contain a sewage should the pump lift station fail.
A retention pond, then it shouldn't be flowing anywhere.
Yeah, yes, let's clarify. So, no, it never should hold sewage, that's a whole public health hazard, and I think we could refer to the
Because you
Tribune
can't dump the
articles
raw
3 years
sewage into the
ago.
river.
So, when there's other situations where we can handle that, I'm concerned, I agree with you, it may not sound like it. I'm thinking though that it's a retention pond, does not have drainage, which is why it's holding water, which is why you all are experiencing that problem. It might be something we have to address.
Do we have a start date on when this is gonna?
They have not.
And Mayor, just as a point of order, I mean, it's your discretion on how to run it, but usually we're violating our rules by cyclical recognition of the same speakers. I know you have another point. But usually we do this, we ask the speakers to address all of their points at one time. You've heard something you wish to address, and that's why you're asking. However, I'm bringing it up because I know there's a couple people in the audience who wish to address us on another topic and are not getting to. And additionally, there may be speakers on this topic which have not, my apologies, but this will be the second or third time you've come up. We have some people who may wish to address, have had no opportunity whatsoever. So please keep it short so that the people behind you can ask a question if they need to.
Do we have a start date on when this is gonna?
No,
We don't have a start date yet?
They have not even applied for building permits.
Okay.
No construction permit yet.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else on this topic that hasn't spoken yet?
I don't want anyone to walk away feeling discouraged about the situation as it stands at the moment. I've heard from the developer, we're gonna talk tomorrow. I've directed the city inspector, who's also in charge of the permits, to pause when we receive it, the construction permit for the road, so that we can specifically put this on an agenda for a public session. So those are the first two avenues that we're going to tackle, and after I speak with the developer tomorrow, we'll be able to have a little bit more clarity on what we can do within the legal bounds of what we can as a city government council, so.
Is there anybody on a different topic that wants to speak?
I have a few papers I'd like to pass out,
Okay.
so that you guys can understand what I'm speaking about.
And
I'm sorry, I don't have three copies.
I'm sorry, Mr. Tennant. I believe Mr. Tennant is addressing on another topic, not on this particular not on the school topic. And it's been a long session. I didn't know if you might because I know they have a topic to address, if you want to take a brief break and reconvene, so for their convenience or the audience's convenience, or just charge on.
We'll go ahead and charge on. Thank you.
Go ahead.
And we do have,
I only have 3 copies. I had a little struggle with technology today.
and just for clarification, can you say your name into the microphone for us?
Do you-
Can you speak
Do
into
you
the
want to
microphone?
come up and assist?
Oh, sorry.
This is Mrs. Tennant, and we'll sometimes do things a little bit differently with the tenants, because we know there's a little bit of a difficulty of Mr. Tennant hearing us, so we'll allow Mrs. Tennant to assist.
Name and address for the record.
I'm Brad Tennant, and I own property on around 800 block of Badger, and 820 to 838, 840 Badger, approximately.
And we'll take that. Yeah, thank you.
I'm sorry, I have a couple stapled upside down too. I wasn't worried. I have to share that. Would you like a copy, sir?
I'll take a copy, thank you.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
All right. Okay, I had the pleasure of speaking to Kevin O'Hearn yesterday about a fencing permit I applied for. And he advised me to come and address to you guys because you have some issues. And he informed me of some of them, but not all of them. Now, on the first page, I have it is the survey of my properties, and the yellow is all my property. And the property that is in question right now for the fence is the yellow, large yellow block 1 and 4 at the bottom. And that's on the south end of the property. And this up here is the north end, so I will be referring to the north and the south and that kind of stuff. Now, I applied for the fence permit for several reasons, mainly safety, security, privacy, and peace. The safety is because we have speeding cars speeding through the back of the lot, drag racing stuff. They're speeding back here behind the lot in the wide part. They spin the tires, they race down there. We have public coming through here acting like it's a through street and things like that. We have kids that play back there that live around there, and it puts them at risk. We have a certain individual that lives around here. He's made threat to people, me, my family, my children, and most recently, a friend of a resident there that he mistook for one of my children. And so it's putting everybody at risk for their safety. As for security, is I'm having problems with hostile trespassers, namely this individual and his wife, as well as some other people in general public, illegal dumping in our dumpsters that our residents pay for. And a food traffic issue again. And on for the privacy part of the issue is this individual loves to sit in his car or sit on his front porch or come out every time he sees me on my property to try to instigate a fight, cause harassment, try to escalate things. And so I think that fence would help with privacy so he can't see me over there. At this point, I cannot go on my north side of my property, right here. He sees me, he comes out, he yells. I can hardly use this. If he drives around this way, he sees me, he comes out and tries to start trouble. I do everything I can to avoid this individual. And so those are, and for peace, the last one is peace. There will be no confusion of our community with the residential association community. Up north is the residential association community. Down here is private and separate from that, and I would address that issue in one moment. Now, the first issue that was raised with me is that we're worried about fire truck access. If I build this fence right here along this property line, on my side of the property line, of course, it's what I built right here, right down the middle of the drive. Now, the issue they had with the fire truck access from the curb to the property line is over 32 feet wide. There's parking along the curb. My proposal was to angle the parking at 45 degrees, create a little more room, and there would be definitely a 12-foot lane to drive through on both sides of the fence. That should not be an issue. The hydrant, most of the time the fire truck, they go to the fire hydrant. All of the fire hydrants are right here on Badger Lane. And most of the time, in my experience, those fire trucks park as close to the fire hydrants as possible. I have driven fire trucks. I used to work for Becker Fire. And I know that 12 feet is plenty of room for a fire truck to get through. These lanes around here and over here are very, very wide. Excess should not be a problem. Now, for the issue of this, I keep getting claims from council, from all the city officials, that this is public access and it's a common area. And I'm here to address that. If you turn to the first page after the survey, I have highlighted the definitions in the covenant of what common property is. The common area shall mean all real property, including the improvement thereto, owned by the association for the...
That's time.
Sorry, didn't get to time.
Can you make your next point brief so that we can address some of the concerns?
All right. Okay. This thing, the common areas are owned by the residential square property owned by the residential association. The residential association doesn't own any property here, no real property at all. So there is no common area throughout here. The city owns this north parking lot. It's public. I own the south half of the parking lot. If you fast forward through the covenant, there's an amendment in the covenant removing the south half from the residential association. So this property is completely separate community from the residential association. Let's fast forward a little bit. And I have my vacational plat that was filed in 2007, addressing the south half of this property. And if you read it, you read through all the legal descriptions and boundaries and everything, and right there specifically it says, shall be, and the same is hereby vacated and removed from public use. And then in 2022, they filed another deed guaranteeing the access to the people on Lot 13, Lot 1, and Lot 2 on the south half that privately owned the townhouses there. And I was not going to do anything to affect their ingress and egress, but I want to separate these two communities with the fence for my sanity.
Just a quick point of my apologies. Just a quick point of clarification. Is there a way to divide the properties, or does that still exist within the landowner association, that there's no way to divide?
The problem that the tenants face is a legacy of the property records that are here. And I'm familiar with every single one of the documents that they have filed, and it does not solve, or that they have presented, and more, because I've run the title myself to attempt to determine the situation here. and it doesn't solve the problem that they're presenting, and the town frankly has no ability to solve it. What the situation is this particular area is the Topaz addition to the city of Mills. It was originally subdivided as a Natrona County subdivision in 1979. When that was done, there was a dedication of the tract Q to the Homeowners Association for use as parking and driveway. After that, and you heard Mr. Tennant refer to it, there was or make reference to it, it was actually replatted and a new subdivision was put in, which was the Homeview Heights subdivision. The document that he referred to a moment ago was from 2007 when Relcon Limited did a declaration of vacation of plat. It was actually the Homeview Heights subdivision that they were vacating, which they were able to do under a statute because no lots had been developed. The Homeview Heights subdivision is the one that actually split the property ownership north and south, but the declaration of vacation of plat recreated the old plat, and it didn't solve the tract Q problem. You know, you can have split ownership, but nonetheless, tract Q remains dedicated in the fashion that it originally was to the homeowners association. Their point is that, well, there is no homeowners association because that entity has split itself. That doesn't involve the city of Mills whatsoever. That's a private contractual relationship between those parties. The city of Mills does not own anything in this area. So that's a dedication that was to an association. When that dedication lapses, because the homeowners association in part or in whole has dissolved, that devolves to the owners of those lots. So we have no ability to affect this public dedication in any fashion. We cannot grant the right to split that because it impacts private property rights. Their point would be is that, well, we own the land to the south, somebody owns the land to the north. The city of Mills cannot impact those private property rights. And we've looked at this repeatedly. Their own documents demonstrate that we have no right to do it. It's come up in the Mills court through request to file trespassing charges against an entity. The city prosecutor's here today because we knew that this would come up. He's looked at it independently. I don't know that he needs to address it because the criminal expression hasn't really come up tonight. But it's our opinion that we cannot approve this fence. We cannot address what is a private property dispute. The parties have the ability, if they wish, to pursue this in the district court, but there's nothing we can do.
If you look at the
I have looked at every one of these documents and more.
The underlined part says a portion of tract Q. It is specifically stated a portion of tract Q, which is the southern half, is private and vacated from public use. I have spoken to 2 attorneys that said I do not need a quiet title action.
Then you should bring those people here or have them actually call me or even just tell me their names.
I'm sorry. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay.
Have them call me.
I would ask the attorney to make a statement on the official stance of the city of Mills.
So the official stance of the city of Mills is this, is having researched this property issue repeatedly, having run the title, having reviewed the documents that you've supplied, that we have run this to ground, and there is nothing that the city of Mills can do. Additionally, we would note that these are commercial properties, so in essence, this is a dispute between two commercial landowners at the end of the day, and we really cannot use city resources to favor one property owner over another on the public expense. So we believe that this matter is closed. If the parties themselves wish to develop it further, they have access to courts to do it.
Sir, if you look it up.
I
the
have,
city-
sir.
Please let me finish, sir.
So I was-
If you look it up, the city owns the north half of track
We
U.
do not. The city of Mills does not
city of Mills
own
owns
any
the-
property.
It was
in
quit
here.
claimed to you by
So,
Faith.
and I'm
In
going to
order for
clarify
the
where-
property to, for the city to own anything, the city has to accept it. We do not, Mills does not own any property in here.
And this would
Mills
be
does not.
best handled, I'm not gonna let, we're not gonna address it anymore. If you're not at the podium.
You can impact my private property.
So,
I don't
Mr.
understand.
Tenant, look at,
I don't
we're not
understand.
gonna speak out of order here, okay? We're gonna have decorum, and the attorney has spoke. The best avenue now is for your legal representation to contact the City of Mills's attorney, which is Mr. Holster. You will no longer be encouraged or allowed to contact the prosecutor who does not represent you commercially, okay? Because that's a waste of city resources. So have your legal representation contact Mr. Holster for clarification on this topic.
Okay, I haven't contacted the prosecutor for quite a while.
Thank you.
Okay.
And Ms. Ten, I would like to offer some assistance. I know I spoke earlier, but this is on YouTube, so anything that you may have been able to, or missed in the communication, it's all posted on YouTube, as well as minutes, obviously legally, but sometimes YouTube will be helpful to help you to talk after the fact.
You can bend that down.
Like that?
Right.
Okay, my name is Haley Tennant. We own property on Badger Lane, the 800 block of Badger Lane. Ms. Mayor, council members, I would like to speak about an issue we're having. In September of 2023, my husband and I met with the mayor and Ms. McCarthy about a neighbor who will not stop harassing us. The mayor was familiar with the neighbor and offered to talk to the police department and write a letter to the judge on our behalf. I sent the mayor an email on October 5th and was ignored. I did another email December 6th about getting the letter that she had promised us, and she asked for contact info for the person who knows what the letter should say, and I gave her the information, and I never heard from her. I emailed her December 14th and January 8th, no answer. So this neighbor has convinced you guys that things are mutual between us, and they are not. We don't follow him. We don't choose to go out of our way to harass him. We actually go out of our way not to see him. We don't yell at him the second he comes out his door and call him names and slander and record him and flip him off. We don't destroy his property. We even moved our signs when the police asked us to help de-escalate the situation. Get a survey, the police said. Fine. Money, we did. Get cameras so that we can catch them trespassing and destroying our property. Fine. More money, we did it. Now the city prosecutor wants us to spend more money on a quiet title action. There's always an excuse. On December 17th, the police caught this neighbor harassing us. Again, on January 4th, they caught him, but nothing was done. We should have the right to be on our property and not be harassed and have to listen to someone disturbing the peace and the surrounding neighbors. Please, can't Mills help us?
I would like to offer clarification. After speaking with the victim's advocate, I informed her as well, as I'm sure she informed you. If the decision were to be made to provide a letter, it would be that all parties should cease contact, because all parties are agitators. And we have evidence on video to prove that. I would like to ask Chief Preciado if you're familiar with the January 4th incident, and why no one was charged, or is somebody charged?
There's been so many incidents, I'm not sure January 4th. I know the last time we were there was mutual. There was threats both sides. So January 1st, I apologize. I wish I'd had that report in front of me.
We've never made a threat to.
Your family member was there and said you're going to pop
Okay,
Justin Smith in the mouth.
There was not a family member there. There was someone there that was not related to at all, and he didn't even say that to Justin. I'm sure he has a listening device. And he did not say he was going to do that. I heard it myself on the recording, and he said that he wanted to, but he said it quietly to my daughter.
So either way, there was no charges that you're familiar with?
No, ma'am.
Okay, but just, we'll probably talk after.
We
once
have filed
research it.
charges in Mills Court, but that's something that maybe the prosecutor could speak to.
And
Another incident.
On a matter of point of order, regarding taking this to the district court for a quiet title, that was referenced the very first time this topic came up. So that is not new. We have always indicated that this is a civil matter. There's been multiple contacts between these parties, and I am not the prosecutor, but as I indicated on the first time this came up, I do not believe that there's a legal basis for a trespass claim based upon what we have seen, and in fact, actually, I'd have ethical concerns about filing one. The city prosecutor is here, and he could address why trespass charges have not been prosecuted by Mills, if we wish to.
If I could, can I have the prosecutor step to the podium and speak?
Okay, and we have all these pictures of proof
This
that.
one right here, that
And
it's
here's
trespassing
one,
on my
this is a really
property.
good one. If
Flipping
this
the
doesn't,
camera off.
if this doesn't prove who's the
Big
engineer.
trespassing on my property
Here's
behind
his
Roger, but we
window.
specifically told him that he cannot.
If this doesn't prove who is.
I can't, I couldn't enforce that even if I wanted to. Ms. Tennant, I need you to respect your forum, okay? We're gonna allow the prosecutor to approach the podium and speak at this point in time. And then I'm gonna shortly cut this off because this is already gone off the rails.
So Mr. Meyer, as some of you know, is the city prosecutor, and he can address why the city is not prosecuted a trespass action if the council wishes to proceed further, although as you have noted, we've gotten pretty far into the weeds already.
I will allow the prosecutor to speak on the trespassing topic specifically, just for clarification for the council.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Council, Jeff Meyer, prosecutor. My role here is limited, and it's very specific, and that's prosecuting crimes ordinance for the city of Mills. As a prosecutor, I did this as a full-time job for 10 years. Prior to moving to Wyoming, one of the first things that's drilled into your head is if you do not believe that you can meet the burden of proving a criminal case beyond reasonable doubt, it's not ethical to file it. As Mr. Holscher notified the council regarding the property history, I also read those same documents, looked at the title history independently on my own, talked to Mr. Holscher about the issue. Ultimately, the title's a mess. And again, whether there's ownership or not does not eliminate the ability to use or prescriptive easements or anything else like that. So I don't think it's ethical for me to try to take someone's liberty interest. And I don't think I can prove the case. So I'm not going to. If the police department sends me reports on, for example, we're really talking about this roadway, I believe. If there's an issue way to the south, beyond this contested area, I will take a look at that because I don't think that that's in dispute, but I'm not sure because I don't have all that evidence. Same with disturbances. But again, it would, if this is a disturbance between the two primary parties and the other people who live there aren't complaining about it, then I have to question, to some degree how much of a disturbance it actually is, if we're not hearing from the other resident.
That's a great point.
So does anyone have any questions for me? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time and energy on this topic as a whole. It's been a major burden on resources for all of us for a private matter. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and move forward. And would ask if council has a motion for an executive session for legal.
I'll move that we go into an executive session for a legal issue.
Second.
How does council vote?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. It's for you.
Did it turn off? I hate, oh, yeah.
Oh, I agree.
Push you off. It's to
What's that?
We've returned from an executive session. All council is present.
I make a motion that we authorize legal action.
Second.
How does council vote?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. We have a third legal executive session. Do I have a motion?
Move that we go into executive session for another legal issue.
Second.
How does council vote?
Aye.
You're our only audience. Open discussion is shut down. No. Council has returned from an executive session. All council is present. No action is required or taken.
No action is required. I move that we adjourn.
Second.
How does council vote?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes.